I mentioned Menubar in the last video, and here we're actually going to implement it. I'm sure that by now you've already realized that Menubar contains things such as File, Edit, Settings, Help, and all the other coolness, just like the vast majority of desktop applications have. But stick around because there's definitely much more to it. Let's get some terms straight first, and we'll do that with the help of a picture. I have here a screenshot of the Qt Designer, and the one thing we saw in action already is the Q menu bar. And that's this menu stripe at the top of the window, or the top of the screen depending on what operating system you're using. Now the Q menu bar in itself is not very interesting. It's just a container, nothing more. And we're more interested in the elements that it contains. The Q menu bar contains Q menus. The Q menus are all these: File, Edit, Form, but all of them individually. So a file would be one Q menu, Edit would be another Q menu, Form would be another Q menu, and so on and so forth. Q menus in themselves are also kind of containers, and the real action happens in Q actions. The Q menu contains Q actions. Every single one of these, such as new, open, save, print, etc., is a separate Q action. Hopefully that part is clear now. So to define a Q menu bar contains several Q menus, each of which contain many Q actions. Moving on to the real deal here, we see that we have a Q menu bar at the top where it says type here. And for the record, you won't find the Q menu bar in the widget box on the left, but you can add it by right-clicking the Q main window area and selecting Add Menu Bar in case you accidentally delete it from your Q main window. Editing the Q menu bar is very simple, so we're just going to follow the instructions and type here. I'm going to double-click here first and then type File. And I'm going to add two more Q menus. One is going to be Edit, and another one is going to be, let's say, for example, Help. So now we have one Q menu bar, but three Q menus. Now let's add some Q actions to our File Q menu. This too, as you might assume, is also very simple. I'm just going to click here, and as it says, type here. So let's follow what Qt Designer tells us. Going to create several Q actions. The first one is going to be new, and hit enter on the keyboard. Open, save. Let's put something like Python rules, and let's say exit, for example. There you go. Wasn't that simple? I'm sure you'd agree. Now I think it'd be a good idea to kind of separate this exit from other Q actions. So what I'm going to do is add a separator, and once it's there, I'm going to click on it and drag it so that it's above this exit. Let's preview the application and see what this looks like for now. I click on the File Q menu. We have our Q actions here, and you can see this kind of a separator between Python rules and exit. Let's close this for now. We won't really bother with the Edit and Help Q menus for now, but let's actually do something with the Q actions that we have just created. First, shortcuts are very useful, at least I think they're very useful, so let's add some. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to skip new for now. I'm just going to single click open. Then in our property editor here, I'm going to find shortcut. And to edit a shortcut, all I have to do is actually click on this value field right here, and then on my keyboard I'm going to press the keys that are going to be used as a shortcut. Now for open, that's usually Control O or Command O. So I'm going to click on this and then hit Control O on my keyboard at the same time. Now let's do the same thing for save. Go to shortcut and hit Control S. Let's preview our application once again. If I open the File Q menu, we see that Control O and Control S have appeared to the right of the Q action text. Now what's cool about this is that once we implement this design in our code, we don't have to write any additional code to handle just this shortcuts here. Qt will do that for us automatically. Let's close this for now. And before going back to new, this Python rules seems like a statement more than an action. So one thing we could do is mark it as checkable queue action. Again, I'm going to click Python rules, and then in the property editor, I'm going to mark this queue action as checkable. And since Python does indeed rule, I'm also going to mark it as checked. Now let's preview the application once again, hit File, and we can see that this Python rule is checked because Python does rule. Alright, so let's go back to new. What I want to do is add a submenu for this new. So let's have two more queue actions, new from template and just new, like blank new. We can just click this plus sign here next to our new and then type. First let's just say new and then hit enter, and we can say new from template and hit enter again. Click away and let's preview the application once again. And by the way, the shortcut for previewing the application is Ctrl+R. And if I hover over new, now I have this submenu of new and new from template. Now by doing this, we've essentially created another queue menu, and now our old new here, this one right here, is no longer a queue action, but rather a queue menu that contains, in our case, two queue actions. So you can see that we can also nest queue menus. We can have many queue menus within another queue menu as well. Now let's close this. Some of you probably noticed that we can also add icons to individual queue actions. For example, if I click File and then Open here, we have this icon property. Icons, however, require some additional work that we'll cover in the next module. For now, in our next video, we're going to take a look at the queue toolbar.